talk about your acquisition today.
Yeah, we feel like we got a legitimate number one starter in Garrett. Left-handed, ton of swing and miss, massive strikeouts, and feel like the best is still in front of him. So we're excited about what he brings, and obviously, we needed to trade really good players in order to be able to do this, but that's the cost right now, and we're very much focused on what we were able to get. The excitement that we have around adding him to the rotation. It adds depth, it adds quality, bona fide ace, and someone like I said, that we feel is going to continue to improve. Really excited about getting him into our pitching infrastructure, getting a chance for him to work with Bales, and winning a bunch of games at Fenway Park for us.
When did this really start to pick up steam?
These are, I think, the types of things where conversations kind of ebb and flow, and a lot of checking in, a lot of feeling like you're getting momentum and traction, and then kind of things start to diverge or diminish a bit, and then really started to pick up again, I think, over the last few days. I think the general concepts maybe had all been discussed, but it was just a matter of figuring out how we could put the pieces together.
Given that you, obviously you did give up some top prospects, but that you were able to kind of keep the young major league kind of core intact, I guess how much that benefit, was that a benefit for you?
Yeah, this is the type of move, and Garrett obviously comes with 2 years of control that I think kind of screams we need to compete in 2025, and we need to put a better team on the field. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to kind of sacrifice potential future value. I think fortunately our system is deep, and there's a ton of quality and a ton of really, really good players. And so we felt like we were in a position to withstand the cost, but there's no doubt in the four guys that we gave up really good players.
Do you feel you'll be continuing to add to the rotation, or is this kind of the main piece that you had hoped to add?
Yeah, we're going to continue to explore and be aggressive and identify opportunities to continue to improve. That was always the plan when we got here, and we feel really good about adding Garrett to the rotation, but we're also going to continue to try to find ways to improve. We'll also continue to be mindful of trying to add to the relief group, still trying to balance out the lineup and find a right-handed bat. Probably looking at the catching position behind Connor becomes even more important. So we've got a lot of work still to do.
Yeah, how do you address the catching situation? Is that something even before this you kind of were looking to add depth, but now it becomes obviously much more of a important piece?
Yeah, well, I think first off, we're really optimistic about Connor and what he has done, what he did last year. I think he's going to continue to improve, but we're obviously going to need more depth. We'll explore all paths to doing that. I think we could think about both the near term and the long term, but given Connor's still got plenty of controls and wear a Red Sox uniform for a long time, we feel like, at least for right now, we've got to start catching.
I know you mentioned his Garrett's huge fastball. What are you excited about getting him to? You're talking about getting the pitching infrastructure in terms of just what he can add. What are some of the things you think he can add?
Yeah, so I think there's the on-field piece, and we see huge velocity, ability to generate swing and miss, big breaking ball, unique angles, unique release. But on top of that, he's new to starting, right? And I think the relationship that he'll build with Andrew and the rest of the pitching coaches is important, but just as important is relationship with the medical staff and the strength staff and our analytics group to continue to understand how he can get the best out of his stuff, what pitches to throw where and when, and how to make sure that we can keep him healthy and available to shoulder a starter's workload.
Is there any concern, just the health, obviously, last year was the first, like, full season, and only season in the rotation, like, how do you balance that, I guess, just leaning on him, obviously, pretty heavily, but also making sure he stays healthy?
Yeah, we'll obviously do everything that we can. You know, and I think his demonstration of being able to carry, you know, significant workload last year is a really, really meaningful step. I'd also say that I think we have as good a support staff in our medical group and our strength group as exists in baseball. So, you know, I think once they're able to get their hands on him and understand what his routine is and what his program looks like, you know, hopefully we'll be able to work together to keep him on the field.
Greg, you mentioned wanting to get 2 starters. Does this trade make it more likely that the other one would be a free agent?
It could be. You know, I think we came here a few days ago thinking we needed to improve our rotation, and you know, if we exclusively look down one path, we would be closed off from other options. I think that's still the case. You know, there are still really, really good players, really good starting pitchers left on the free agent market, and there are still conversations that we're having with teams as trade targets.
You know, you said Garrett's an ace. When you look at the second one you want to add, is it necessarily top rotation, mid rotation? You have, you feel you need to have somebody who's, you know, number 2 guy, or not necessarily?
I mean, I think we're gonna go out and try to bring in the best pitcher that we can. You know, I don't know that it makes a ton of sense to label a number around him, because the best opportunity that we have to add to the rotation just, you know, it means we're gonna win more games. So I think we're gonna be really open-minded about that.
You mentioned getting, you know, the analytics department. You know, they have Brian Bannister over there. Are there specific things, doing your homework, that you see possible adjustments that, you know, your org might want to tweak with his usage, or just let him be himself?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the answer is probably both, right? Like, we want to lean into what he does particularly well, and he does a lot of things really, really well. And you know, you just look at the strikeouts, right? And especially the strikeouts relative to the walks. You know, that's a pretty good, you know, kind of underpinning for a really successful starting pitcher. You know, I think once we have a chance to get to know him and have conversations with him, you know, we'll lean on Andrew and the rest of the group, but probably not fair to, you know, kind of talk about what adjustments we might make with him before we've had a chance to have that conversation with him.
Well, you probably did do homework on what you theoretically might.
We did a lot of work, yeah.
Go ahead.
Third time's a charm. When you look at his contractual situation, how interested are you / how important is it to get an extension, talk about an extension past the 2 years with him?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think those are conversations that we can have in time. I think for right now, we just want to get to know Garrett, and we want to do everything that we can to make sure that his transition to Boston is as easy and seamless as possible, and just try to get him comfortable.
Is this something that you want to explore?
And I think we'll kind of figure that out.
What was his reaction to Jared?
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with him earlier. You know, I think this didn't seem like the type of situation that snuck up on him, right? I think, you know, people have been talking about a potential trade for months now, but he sounded genuinely excited about Boston being the destination, and I think, you know, the chance to come and pitch in the AL East. I think he recognizes the position player talent that we have around him, and the chance to pitch in a rotation that is, you know, that is young and emerging, but also has some experience. So he seemed really, really excited.
How interesting is he in the aspect of, you know, didn't pitch in the minors before he made it to Major League? His only minor league games have been sort of rehab type games. It would seem like there's a lot of growth there for him.
Yeah, I think this is a really unique path to the big leagues, and you know, obviously gets to the big leagues as a reliever, you know, and gets built out as a starter, and you know, came out of the gates as good a starting pitcher as there was in all of baseball. You know, I think he understands at this point what the work required of a starting pitcher is in order to stay healthy for a full season, and so you know, I think this was a huge year for him just in terms of his development. Is kind of what we gathered, but obviously it would be, you know, kind of it doesn't make sense for me to, you know, kind of speak to what he learned, what he developed, you know, over the course of the season.
When you look at what you gave up, I think a lot of people look at Teal, but just how strange is or difficult is it to give up, you know, Montgomery after just taking him? I know you guys were excited about that, and then just kind of the perspective of your last two first round picks.
Yeah, there's no doubt that you know these things hurt. At the same time, you know, I think it's important that we remember that you know we draft players and we invest in player development so that they can contribute at the big league level. You know, I think all four of these guys are going to be contributing big leaguers. But the chance to turn some of our talented young position players into a legitimate front of the rotation starter was one that we needed to take advantage of. You know, but all four of these guys are really good kids and really good players. It just seemed like it was the right time and it was kind of the right way to package this.
Did you talk at all to Lucas or Liam about Garrett?
We have had, yeah, we have tried to collect as much information as we possibly could about any acquisition that we made. This one, you know, is no different, and this one particularly, I think, because of you know the dynamics. We wanted to make sure that we did not leave any stone unturned.
How important was it to you to get us, timing-wise, make a splash before leaving here and making sure that as things were heating up that you weren't left out?
Yeah, you know, I don't think it would be best for the Red Sox if our decisions or timing were dictated by where we are, what other teams around us are doing. You know, if this situation had a chance to take place a week ago, we would have done it, and if it took until next week, that's what we would have done. You know, I think there's probably something about 30 teams getting together in the same place for a period of time that maybe accelerates some of the conversations or allows them to unfold with a little bit more candor that can be helpful. But it's really important, I've said this before, that we run our own race, and that means that we have to operate on our own timeline.
Do you feel like that right in at that market is going to start to move pretty quickly here? Or?
Hard to forecast. You know, I think each of these decisions is this kind of weird balance of being interconnected and related in that, you know, when someone goes off the board, it might cause a team or a player to pivot a little bit. But at the same time, like, you know, I think there are unique situations that surround all of them, and we'll be, you know, we're ready, and we're prepared, and we've got a number of targets that we've identified, and we just have to figure out a way to execute on.
It was no secret that they were going to, you know, likely look to trade him at some point. Did you have people that, you know, did you sign somebody to follow him over the course of last year or at points of last year?
We've done extensive work. You know, it's hard to imagine that you know, we would have been able to collect more information and watch more video, watch more starts. We obviously saw him up close during the season. You know, and so I think the work that we did was extensive. You know, he's just an immensely talented guy, and fortunately, you know, our farm system is in a place where we had a number of really talented young players that were able to allow us to make the trade.
Good. Excited about any of your secondary Rule 5 guys?
Yeah, I think we have, you know, a couple guys that have a chance to, you know, to provide some big league depth, and, you know, some, you know, obviously arms that you know we needed to stack up on. Again, get them into the system, give Justin and others a chance to work with them and see what kind of development opportunities exist.
Are these the level of guys who could be invited to spring training?
We'll start to kind of figure that out. You know, a lot of that will depend on how the rest of the offseason goes.
All right.
Thanks.